the Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
And yes, we were talking about Kris Bryant, and he came out he was interviewed today, and he came out and sort of talked about stuff. So I have some of his quotes here as he had sort of a media session. This is the first time he's come out talking about this since he was demoted back to Iowa on Monday.
It's not really even a demotion. It's more like a tune-up.
Right.
It's not even a demotion.
Of course, they're calling it a demotion to make it sound worse than it is. Demotion motivates and disappoints Cubs Bryant is the title of the story. So this is not good. Speaking publicly for the first time since being sent to minor league camp, Chicago's Cubs prospect Kris Bryant said he's disappointed in being demoted but motivated to reach the big leagues soon. And now here's something he said. I don't want to say I'm mad or anything. I'm just extremely disappointed. The dream is on hold for a little bit, but I'm hungrier than ever. A little bit. 2 weeks, man. Wait 2 weeks. I'll use this as motivation and fuel. I'll use this as motivation and fuel to the fire. I've been told a lot in my life I couldn't do it. But you can do it, and you will do it in just a few weeks. That's the thing. I was told it was a top 2 spring training performance, which was cool to hear. There's been a lot of guys in this game. I'm just a rookie trying to make my way there. To hear that is hear that is something pretty special to me. To hear that he's had one of the best spring training performances out of anybody in the game of baseball. I'm definitely learning it's a business. I just go out there and put my head down and play as hard as I can. Baseball is such a performance-driven industry. I'm a big believer that if you go out there and perform and work hard and you earn it, that I believe you should get the chance to play. I guess it was viewed differently than I thought. So he doesn't get it. See, he doesn't understand. That's the thing.
No, he doesn't. I mean,
that's the thing that makes me mad.
It almost sounds like Scott Boras poisoned his mind.
I know. It's just, God, you're going to be up. You're eligible to be up April 17th. It doesn't matter if the Cubs are 0-10 then or 10-0 then. You wouldn't have made a big difference like that as far as wins and losses. Oh, an extra hit here, an extra hit there. Maybe a couple wins fluctuate. Doesn't matter. The right thing to do to keep you for an extra year on the team is to have you go down for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, call you up in the beginning of May,
right?
Or
it's
whenever
not like
they
football.
see fit.
It's not like football where he can just go on a holdout. No, you can't do that in baseball.
And that could be a big year. He'll be right in his prime when he's looking for free agency. He'll be right in the middle of his prime. Hopefully, he'll have a couple rings under his belt and he'll stay with the Cubs. But you never know. And then Theo Epstein said, in this case, it was the right thing to do, which we agree with. His performance really mattered, and he made a great first impression on Joe Maddon. It demonstrated clearly to everybody that he is really close to not just being in the big leagues, but being an important role on this team.
Think about all the 4 major sports. How many times do you hear an agent going and complaining like a baby and going to the media like this?
Right, and
not how many times do you hear about it? Who's the only guy that does it?
Scott Boras. I mean, seriously, it's the only guy. And, it makes Kris Bryant sound not good. It doesn't make him sound good. It makes him sound like he doesn't understand the plan or he doesn't understand. I mean, haven't you seen Theo Epstein's work and track record? I mean, this is what he does. I mean, Kris Bryant should have been expecting this. He heard the stories just like we did about, April 17th. You're eligible April 17th, blah, blah, blah.
Right, he'll probably come up around May 1st.
Yeah, he'll come out up in early May. He'll probably come up on the road at some point. I don't think they want to do – I don't know if they're going to bring him up at home because that's what they did with Baez and Soler. They had
and Alcantara and Hendricks.
And Starlin Castro for that matter, but Theo wasn't there then. But that was
that was just more of the old regiment trying to save their jobs.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, he had a hell of a game. He was 5 for 5, 4 for 5.
Or he had 6 RBIs. I think he only had 3 hits. Yeah, he had the home run, the triple, and 6 RBIs.
That's crazy. And I mean, hell, he might be traded at the the trade deadline. It's possible, depending on what the Cubs are doing. Then maybe Addison Russell will be ready to be called up. Then who knows? But yeah, so he says he doesn't want to talk about. He doesn't want to talk about it right now. When I put on a uniform, it's an honor to play for this team. So he keeps backtracking. He keeps saying, "Oh, I'm disappointed and mad, and I shouldn't have been called down. But I'll just play my hardest and blah blah, and it'll all work out." But just say that. Don't say the other stuff where you're talking about how you thought you should have been called up, and well, if you had the greatest spring training performance ever, then you should be called up no matter what, and you should be starting third baseman on the team. Yeah, but that also means that we lose a year from you because the Dodgers will throw $1 billion your way or something, and then you'll just take that.
Yeah, they'll throw $2 billion while the Yankees throw $1 billion.
Right, and maybe the Cubs will have their big TV deal by then, and the Cubs will be top 3 moneymaker as well, like the Yankees and Dodgers with their own TV networks. But you never know. It's just it was really upsetting. I mean, we're 3 days away from opening night, and
yeah, and this is the story.
This little cloud is looming over that.
Well, no, this is the big story now. It's not even opening night. People are almost forgetting that opening night's in 3 days because they're focused on this Kris Bryant nonsense.
Well, they're focused on that, and they're focused. Oh no, the horrible, murderous video board is up, and oh no, it makes Wrigley Field look horrible. And
anyone who's opposed to that video board really should slit their neck with a knife.
The video board isn't necessarily for the fans; it's for the players too. The players to look at, to see, to take a glance back and see, was that a good pitch? Was that a bad pitch? What pitch was that? How fast did I throw it? Blah blah blah. All that stuff.
It's not only that; it's also for advertising. They're getting a bunch of advertising money. They said they're going. Once they get this scoreboard up, they'll be making a ton more money that they can use on players.
And of course, in the 90s and 80s and 70s, I mean, there was no advertisements at Wrigley Field. Barely any. I mean, you had the Budweiser thing in the outfield on that, on top of the building
rooftop
there. Yeah. Now it's United Airlines thing. Now I don't think it has anything because it's blocked by the video board. But, yeah, and people are still complaining about that. Oh, my God. The video board, it's awful, it's horrible, it's a horrible thing. How could the Cubs do this to me? I'm 85 years old, and this makes me mad.
It's making Wrigley Field better. If you are opposed to that, you should not be watching the Cubs or be a fan of the Cubs, because if you don't want the video board there, you don't want them to be good.
I know,
because you don't want them making extra money to keep their players.
I follow the Cubs on Instagram, and when they posted a video of the video board being almost finalized, I think they just had like one little corner to put on. All the comments were negative. Oh, disgusting. This makes it look like a horrible place. Blah, blah, blah. No.
You probably should throw in the fact that, though, there's no bleachers, right? There's no bleachers there. So it's not going to look good when there's no bleachers there. I mean, if you've seen the pictures with it, it looks really good, except they had to get the bleachers in.
Right. And, of course, right field and right center aren't done yet, and they won't be done until what, May or June, something like that.
Yeah, something in June. Left field they're hoping to get done by early May.
But it's like, okay, so what? So you can't go sit out there in the bleachers for half the season,
right? Well, and that's not just half the season. It's just more of, you don't have to go. You got a bye from all the cold April and May games that you didn't want to go to anyways. You don't have to pay for those games if you're a season ticket holder,
right? And it just it makes me mad how people still don't understand it.
Right, and those are the games that when you try to sell them, you lose money on because no one wants to go to those games.
I don't understand. And then going back to the article about Kris Bryant, he's playing a victim, and that's what I heard this on the radio too. It sounds like he's playing a victim, and it sounds like he's the victim in all this, and he's not. He's
the guy that this is all about.
Right, and he's like, oh, woe is me, blah, 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 I should really be up here, all this stuff. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth, sort of, but I mean, that's sort of the mentality he has. He thinks he should be playing, and he doesn't understand, the whole wait 2 weeks thing. It's 2 weeks, seriously. 14 days at the earliest, and,
right. And
maybe a little longer.
Well, watch him bring up he doesn't like that he's going to be a free agent a year later, where you shouldn't even be thinking 7 years later.
I mean, I love the guy, and he's going to do really good things for the Cubs, but this, it turns me off of him. It makes me upset. It's just, only this would happen to the Cubs. Seriously, I mean, 3 days from opening night, all this stuff comes out. The video board's going up. Everyone's freaking out. I mean, come on.
It would have happened to the Sox, though, had this been Rodon's second full season.
That's true. It would have happened to the White. I know we'd be saying that's so White Sox, but instead we're saying that's so Cub, as we do a lot. But I don't know what to think of this. I just wish opening night would start. Of course, if the Cubs lose opening night, people are going to be mad, too. Oh, you should have brought Bryant up, see?
Yeah, they'll lose.
See, he would have hit a 2-run homer in the 7th inning instead of having Tommy La Stella there.
Yeah, Kris Bryant would have made a difference if they lose 10-1.
Yeah, exactly. 10-1 and 10-3 is a big difference,
Yeah, I do have a feeling, though, they're going to lose. I just have a feeling they're going to lose.
I'm confident that they'll lose, too.
I mean, not because they're not a good team. It's just, this is a big game for them. They're opening up the season.
It's, it'd be almost too good to be true if they won this game.
Right, and the bleachers kind of are foreshadowing this, too.
Yeah.
The bleachers aren't even done. It's not even a complete stadium. And I just feel that...
I wonder if people are going to be confused on what's a home run or not, because don't they still have...
they still have the basket.
Do they still have the
basket's
basket?
still there.
All right, good. So...
it's just kind of one of those things. I just don't think they're going to win opening night. I think they'll win the second game of the season. And another thing, it's Lester's Wrigley Field debut, and most Cubs pitchers bomb their Wrigley debut.
Yeah, it would not surprise me in the slightest if they lost the game.
Yeah, I'm not saying Lester will bomb out. Maybe he'll allow 4 runs in 6 innings or something. It sounds like he's only going to pitch 5 or 6 innings anyway.
Right, because they're trying to watch that. They're trying to watch his arm. So.
That's one thing. Teams should be kind of monitoring the pitching count. They should want their starters only going 5 or 6 innings early in the season.
Right.
You should be we want your arm fresh later in the season. And I think Arrieta is going to be able to get it done in Game 2 to get them to a 500 record at 1-1. Now,
right, of course, the thing is, none of this really matters because it's only first 3 games. I understand it's against the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's the thing. Wainwright has so much experience as the opening day starter. Not that Lester doesn't. So it's his Wrigley Field debut, and that's a lot. I can't think of the last Cubs pitcher that had a good performance in their Wrigley debut, because I remember back in 2007 when they signed Ted Lilly and Jason Marquis, and both of them had great starts in their first start for the Cubs, except they were both on the road, and then they came home to Wrigley, and both of them were terrible. Edwin Jackson had a bad outing. not that that's shocking. He would have been bad anyways.
Oh, no, I'm completely shocked by that. I thought he was our number 3 guy.
I don't think Hamill did very good in his Wrigley debut. Paul Maholm was bad.
I remember Paul Maholm.
And the thing is, these are names that when the Cubs had them, they were good names and they were good ages. They were good pitchers. Now they're not really anything anymore, except these were good pitchers.
Yeah.
And, that's just the nature. A lot of... And remember Starlin Castro, that hell of a major league debut he had?
Mm-hmm.
And then his Wrigley Field debut, he made 3 errors and was getting boozed. Had no hits, 3 errors, and he was getting booed in his Wrigley Field debut.
Yeah, that's not good.
Javier Baez, his Wrigley Field debut was 1 for 5 with 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he did for the rest of the season, too. It's just with this stuff about Kris Bryant, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to think about it. I just want, when Kris Bryant does come up, I just hope he doesn't hold any grudge against Theo Epstein or the Cubs or anything like that. I don't want him to hold any grudge, although he really shouldn't hold any grudge 9 years from now.
Yeah, really.
If he does, then he's got a problem. He's got more problems.
Yeah, really. What if 5 years from now he's a superstar in the league and the Cubs are offering him huge contracts? Is he really going to care? He
shouldn't.
If he signs a long-term extension and it's for a ton of money, he shouldn't care that he missed 2 weeks of the regular season.
I know. I agree. It's It's kind of disappointing.
And we were talking about Tommy LaStella filling in. He'll probably be a starter. He had a really good spring. When they traded for him, they traded Arodys Vizcaino to the back to the Braves because the Cubs had traded Paul Maholm for Arodys Vizcaino.
I remember that. Yes.
And he was supposed to be like this great